there's a time to be a Machiavellian scoundrel. Most of the time, it's just better to be cooperative and get rid of the losers, get rid of people who aren't committed to whatever it is you're up to. Get those people far away. They'll sabotage your life. And find the few people that they have similar values and similar goals, and you have some synergies between each other that you could really provide a lot of value to one another. That you could contribute a lot of value to somebody else's life at a low economic cost to yourself. And they could contribute a lot of value back to your life at a low economic cost to themselves. And now you have a whole lot of surplus for both of you. You have a lot of synergies and a much better life. And when I talk harshly about screening or talk about losers, the others, all humans are tribal. You all have in-group biases. Everybody has. If you don't have in-group biases, that literally means like you dislike your own people. You dislike the people that are like you. Well, that should be a real call to action to go fucking make your life better. If you really dislike yourself and others that are like you, that should be a real wake-up call to fucking change your life, And if you don't dislike yourself, well, then you probably have an in-group bias and you like other people that are like you. You like other people that are have similar values, similar goals, or engaging in similar cultural phenomenon, etc. There's nothing wrong with that, but just get rid of don't waste your time. You only have so many years in your life. You only get a few decades. You don't get like dozens of them. You don't get 1 dozen of them. You get a few. And you're in your first decade, you're going to figure out how not to shit on yourself. Like, literally, your first decade is like learning some language skills. Hopefully you learned how to write. You learned some language skills. And you figured out how to not shit on yourself and stop pissing in the bed. You're going to have more fun in the next decade of your life or the last decade of your life, guys? What's going to be more fun, really? Because what do you do in the last decade? You're back to shitting yourself again. But you may well be back to shitting yourself again. You may well have lost control of your fucking bladder again in the last decade. And you're like, damn, I did all that, and here I am, done shit my pants. Fuck. It really is. And that really helps put it in perspective for me. Like, well, all right, you got a couple decades of your life, for some people, they didn't do anything in their 20s, and the rest of their life just kind of sucks. Because they just didn't do anything in their 20s. They didn't want to go to university. They didn't want to go fucking build anything or do something. And now you're going to have a peasant job for the rest of your life. You don't want to hustle in your 20s. You deserve to be a peasant. You don't want to hustle through your 20s and 30s. How are you going to be fucking filthy rich or something if you don't want to fucking go put in work through your 20s and 30s? Fuck that guy. So you got to avoid those type of people. If you're one of those people that wants an exceptional life, you got to avoid those other people, or they'll make you one of them. You just don't have enough time in your life to be delusional. Like a person's being delusional and telling themselves a story that's not true is like you're kind of accruing a debt in the background. It's the debt for the nerds in here. It's like the opportunity cost of what you should have been doing instead of doing the pussy ass shit that you were in fact doing. That opportunity cost of again, instead of doing the stuff you knew you were supposed to do, you were just substituting the leisure, just making it a little easy. I'll just take it easy. I'll just take it easy. I'll just take it easy. When somebody else was working harder, man. Somebody else is outworking you, and they don't have to do that for very long before there's a point where if they just keep their momentum, you'll never, ever, ever catch up in your lifetime. Because it's linear for a while. It's slow and linear, slow and linear, slow and linear. Then a lot of things you hit a J curve eventually, and you have exponential results. A lot of business things are like that. Social media stuff works that way. The guy that started 2 years before you and has been serious, you're gonna have a good luck catching up with him. Why does a Coca-Cola or PepsiCo or Walmart or what do these brand names matter? It's like, the Coca-Cola, the brand name Coca-Cola is probably worth more than $20 billion. Just the name and the color, the font style and the color of that logo and your ability to use that logo is probably worth more than $20 billion. Let alone some sugar. What do they sell? Sugar water. It's sugar water. They make you fat and again might kill you early. But the ability to put that logo on it, you'd pay a premium for that product instead of some other product. So, what does the logo mean? What does the brand mean? It's a promise of, that brand is just a promise that, if I interact with that brand, if I buy something from these people, if I work with these people, consume their product, program, whatever it is, that there's going to be a certain level of outcome that goes with that, you know? In this case, these guys are selling you sugar water and some lifestyle bullshit, which is really sad, honestly. But, you know, what's your brand? What are you doing that differentiates you from the others? Your ego's not your friend, dude. Your ego's getting in the way of your success. Your ego's not your friend. You know, Ryan Holiday, here's your fucking book. Ryan Holiday wrote a book, you know, Ego is the Enemy. He's a pretty smart young man. And your ego's not your, I haven't read that book, by the way, but I've heard good things about it, and I understand what he must be talking about, you know? It's like your ego is getting in the way of your success. Your ego is telling you that you already got all the dope shit, and you don't have to do anything more. And then when an opportunity comes up that you know it would be challenging, but it would be very beneficial, then your ego interjects, nah, man, you're already the fucking king, man. You're already the fucking ruler of the universe. You ain't got to do that shit. And it, like, literally, your ego literally obstructs you from doing the shit that would create your life objectively in the way that you're currently fantasizing that your life is or should be. It's like your ego literally stops you from having success. So, I mean, how long do you want to fucking be a dumbass? That's really the thing that you need to answer. It's like, how long do I want to have suboptimal results? How long do I want to go before I admit, no, I could do better, but it's going to take work? If you don't want to do that work, your success is not for you, man. So, you don't get a black belt specifically in jiu-jitsu. You don't get a black belt from a reputable fucking trainer without getting choked several thousand times, do you?
No.
Is that true? Yeah, you just don't. So, you know, that's kind of the point I would make here is like, if you're not willing to be like embarrassed and humiliated and tossed around, it's just like, all right, you're probably not going to be very good at it. So would you also agree that, you know, a guy that's got a blue belt would embarrass, you know, 90-something% of dudes, regardless of his size? Well, let's just say it this way, an average-sized man, just a 50th percentile sized man with a blue belt in jiu-jitsu, is it not true the guy would embarrass, you know, probably 98% of anybody they would have a conflict with?
Correct.
Yeah, probably more than 98%. I'm probably being too soft about it. It's probably true. So, you know, you ain't got to get your fucking black belt, which, you know, in his craft is a 10-year endeavor for people that do it, 7 years if you're a real gangster. It ain't got to be your whole life, man. It's just something you do as part of your lifestyle that enhances your lifestyle, gives you more confidence, some physical fitness, etc. You know, this is just one of those type of endeavors. And, you know, what would happen if you fucking, I mean, you can buy a black belt on Amazon or some shit, can't you?
Sure, it's probably like $5.
Yeah, so you can, bro, you too can be a black belt for $5. But you get your ass kicked by a white belt who's been training for a month or two. So you too can be a black belt for $5, but it don't mean anything. You know, you actually want a talent, or you want some, you know, egoic memento or something. So, you know, I think about this a lot, like weight training, like lifting weights. I make that analogy all the time. I'm gonna make it again. It's like, you know, if fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger was your personal trainer, you know, and, you know, that seems like it'd be a pretty dope personal trainer, you know? If Arnold Schwarzenegger was your fucking, you know, your weight training coach, he could tell you everything, exactly what to do. But Arnold's not gonna hang out with you 7 days a week, 24 hours a day to make sure you do that shit. And if you don't go do what Arnold's suggested that you do, you're not gonna have those type of results. So, I mean, a lot of this is like, what are you willing to do when nobody's watching? What are you willing to do? Like, you know, first, do you know what to do? Do you know how to do it? And are you willing to hold yourself accountable and do the shit when nobody's watching? And most people aren't going to do it, man. How come when I say, like, you know, well, nobody in the room's got a black belt? How come? Because nobody wanted to pay the price for that. You got to pay a price. You got to say no to a lot of other things to say yes to the shit that you want most. He was willing to pay the price. So far, he's willing to pay the price to go get a purple belt. And probably if you got that momentum, you probably got aspirations of going further, you know? It's ingrained in your lifestyle. Is that fair?
Yes.
So, is it hard for you to go fucking, you know, choke somebody or, you know, go get fucking heel hooked or some shit yourself, or it's just part of your fucking week now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So once you build that into your lifestyle, it's dope, man. But the guy who don't want to, you know, guys who's like more concerned about his ego, more concerned about his fucking short-term emotions than his long-term outcomes, that's a bum. That guy's not going to be a winner at anything. So, you know, if you like your ego, you're probably not going to do good at this. Your ego doesn't exist to make you a fucking champ, man. Your ego exists to tell you that you're a champ already. Your ego tells you you're already the king of the universe. You ain't got to do nothing else. You're already on top. Then you go to the gym. Then you go to the club. And you're going to be humbled in those environments. If you're going to do well, you're first going to be, humbled, humiliated, That's what it is. Those are the guys that are going to go do well. Or you could decide to have your whole lifetime can just be an embarrassment while you tell yourself an egoic story about you're just a hero, Everybody here, do you guys have the thoughts on occasion that you're like the king of the universe, like you're the most important person that ever lived? I mean, I certainly do. There's a lot of meek people in here then, because I have simultaneous thoughts that I'm the most important person that ever lived in the history of the universe. And I also have thoughts that I'm utterly irrelevant in the grand scheme of time and space. When you think of the vastness of time and space and prehistory, it's utterly irrelevant. Utterly irrelevant. And it's probably not a bad thing to have both of those thoughts in your head at the same time, depending on the context, But if you're talking shit, if your skill set is here in whatever area that is, and you're talking some shit like this, well, that's not such a bad thing. It means you're kind of cocky. People kind of like cocky people, But when your skill set's here and you're talking shit like this, you're about to look stupid real soon. You're about to be embarrassed real soon. And the more shit you've been talking, the more stupid you're going to look. That's called arrogance or narcissism. So you don't want to be in that realm. So if you want to tell yourself an arrogant or narcissistic story that you're the king of the universe and you run shit. I think another one that a common cognitive bias that people have is they really overestimate what they could do in a day or a weekend, and then they underestimate what they could do in say 3 months. You could really make tremendous progress in 3 months, like amazing progress in 3 months. But the people that are suffering from a different cognitive biases about temporal discounting, or discounting their time inappropriately, to say it in normal human terms. Man, so many people are so concerned about results right now, that they're not willing to put in a little time to go do the thing, And back to a gym analogy, anybody that's ever lifted weights here is first couple weeks in the gym, it don't look good. You'd be physically, if Arnold was your personal trainer, you're going to be physically fatigued, you're going to be psychologically fatigued, you're going to look in the mirror 10, 15 days later, you're going to look exactly the way you looked 10, 15 days ago, and you're going to ask yourself, what the fuck am I doing? Why am I doing this shit? That would be normal. That would be a normal, I think a normal person would have a thought like that. But the person that would persist and make it to day 30 or so, and follow Arnold's training plan, if you will, that guy's his body's recovering quicker, his brain is recovering quicker. He doesn't have that same psychological fatigue or desire to not to do the thing, And you look in the mirror and results are happening. Results are clearly happening, And the type of person that wants right now is like a child, is like a baby that never grew up. And these are really people to be avoided. In any area of your life, it's really people to be avoided. When somebody has such a strong desire for right now, and they don't have the conscientiousness or the bigger picture vision to put in some work to go earn something. I mean, there's a reason they're already fucked up, All those people I want it right now, right now, right now. There's a reason those people tend to be poor. They tend to have a lower education, lower income, lower net worth, less long-term and high-quality friends. So right now is a really a terrible price to pay. That's like going to the hood and going to like a fucking a check cashing joint to get a loan at like 36% plus a bunch of fees that compounds into 400% or 500% annual interest. It's like a crackhead idea. It's really a crackhead idea right now. So no, man, why don't you just focus on doing the right things, and then the results are going to come. And then if a person knew what to do, as you say, and knew how to do that, it's like you don't need the results this moment. It's like if you can't tolerate like 30 days of feeling like shit lifting weights, well, you're just not going to be a bodybuilder, man. You're not going to be very strong, If you can't do that for 30 days, what's required to be like Mr. Olympia is like you're going to work out for 10 years or more. You're probably going to work out for more than a decade and take a bunch of drugs that you don't, they're probably going to end your life early. So, which I don't endorse that at all, but I'm just saying, even despite taking fucking, growth hormone and steroids and God knows what else they take, even despite taking that, you're still going to go put in work for a decade or more. You get that? Yeah, you're into like powerlifting. Is like, so you know, being your age to be like there ain't no Mr. Olympias at your age, are there? That's something that happens in your late 30s or maybe in your 40s. After you've been fucking, you know, lifting weights 20 years or some shit, maybe you're Mr. Olympia. Probably you're not. Probably you're not Mr. Olympia. You're just a big dude that's gonna die soon.
Yeah, that's right.
Probably you're not Mr. Olympia. You're just a real big dude that's gonna die early. A real big dude with a very aged liver. So another delusion is like, you know, a guy who is telling himself these Superman stories of, you know, he's gonna have extreme results. He's gonna have abnormally excellent results, but he's not willing to engage in abnormal behaviors. If you do what everybody else does, you're gonna be like everybody else, man. You know, if you want to have exceptional results, you're gonna have to engage in some exceptional behaviors to earn that spot. And you know, if you don't want to hold yourself to a good standard and go do difficult things, you know, that's all right, man. That's called a bitch. There's a bunch of them out of there. You have a lot of company. A guy that's just willing to be a bitch, just like a soft jellyfish motherfucker, you're just floating around, and you know, if the current gets a little tough over there, he just fucking jellyfish blob his way over here, just float over that way, you know. But he's just going with the current, you know. And you know, so that's just like a jellyfish of the ocean. It just, you know, just this glob of soft, mushy stuff just floating around, doing not much, you know. Once in a while, a little plankton float by us or something, he'd suck it up, get it with his little fucking jellyfish tentacle, but only if it's easy, you know. So yeah, I mean, let's juxtapose that with, you know, what's some gangster shit in the ocean? Perhaps a shark. What does a shark do in the ocean, man?
Oh, shit.
Whatever the fuck it wants. Is that fair?
Yeah, he fears nothing. Ain't nothing else to match him.
Don't even know. A shark don't even know that he's supposed to be scared of something. Like the shark literally wouldn't even know what fear is. When you're the apex predator, you wouldn't even know what fear is. 'Cause what's the shark afraid of? He's like, you know, man, if I fucking, you know, if I get a bite of that dolphin, it might swim another fucking 50 meters. I'll have to go over there and collect the rest of the motherfucker, you know? He ain't scared like another fucking, a big ass great white shark or something. He ain't fucking scared about much of nothing, you know? He ain't worried about nothing. So, you know, so you gotta decide. It's just a lifestyle choice. Like, you're gonna be a jellyfish or a shark, man. You're gonna do something noble and meaningful, or you're just gonna be a soft bitch. And it's just a lifestyle choice, you know? Most people won't do it. Most people won't do it. How come nobody in the room, including me, how come nobody in the room's got a black belt in anything? You know, how old were you when you heard about a black belt? Under 10. You're probably under 10 when you heard about some shit like that. You know, how come nobody took the time to do it? Because you didn't want it bad enough. Somebody else did. A guy who only wants to do shit when you feel like it, you know, you don't need to be motivated. My buddy Brandon Carter is a very good friend of mine. Brandon and I were just in Paris together. We were in Vegas together before that. We've traveled all over together. But last couple of months we've been, you know, we had a lot of fun. You know, Brandon says all the times, like, he's got a great video about this actually. And you know, he talks about, you know, building like champion neural pathways versus bitch ass neural pathways. And are you familiar with this video? And you know, it's like every time you're making a decision, I believe the video is called something like, you know, when's the most important time to go to the gym? Something like that. Most important time to go to the gym. He says the most important time to go is when you don't fucking want to. When you don't want to go, he says, is the most important time to go. Because you only get to work on your self-esteem, your self-discipline. You know, your self-discipline is a muscle that by definition, you cannot build your self-discipline at a time that's convenient for you. By definition, you cannot build your self-discipline at a time that you want to go do some shit or you scheduled it. Is that you can only build your self-discipline at a time where you're gonna go do some shit that you don't want to do right now, but you're gonna go do it anyway. And you know, when a person makes an excuse, instead of doing the thing they know they're supposed to do, when you make a little, you know, bitch-ass excuse, and you say, oh, I'll do it later. Oh, I'll just do it, you know, 80% of what I could have or should have. You know, it's like, well, all right, but you just made it easier to be a bitch in the future too. If you're gonna make that excuse, then you're gonna make another excuse later. And pretty soon those excuses add up. And then you develop the lifestyle of a jellyfish. You're a jellyfish. It's not, you know, nobody wants to, who wants to be business partners with like a human jellyfish? You know, nobody wants to be around a guy like that. How would the world work that, like, you know, you only do shit when it's convenient? and you're going to have, you know, this tolerance to social pressure. Like, negotiation is a lifestyle. Success is a lifestyle choice. I grew up poor as fuck. My dad was in prison. My uncle was in prison. Spent most of my childhood on welfare. Yeah, man, you see, that's a lifestyle choice. Like, I knew by the time I was 10, you know, some of you had some of these stories too, you know, but I knew by the time I was 10, like, oh, like, I'm in charge of the house here. Not because I wanted to be, but I just like, oh, like, my dad's away, you know, I ain't got no older siblings, or you know, I don't have any siblings. So, and I'm like, oh, like, actually, I'm more competent at, like, looking at the world and making good decisions than my mom is. And I have to be in charge and make decisions that are going to help get to a better outcome, because she's not capable of doing it, and dad's not there, and nobody else is filling that spot, you know? That's not a spot that I wanted to be in. Some of you guys would have had some situation like that in your lives, and you know, you probably didn't enjoy that shit either, but I'm just like, all right, well, maybe it's one of the best gifts in life, and I hate to be one of those assholes that says, like, you know, hey, my childhood really sucked, but here's a couple of great things that happened, you know? You can say it that way, but then there's these other dumbasses like, oh, everything happened for a reason. You know, I was like, you know, no, man, like, if for some of you that got your ass kicked when you were a kid and you really didn't deserve it, no, well, it didn't happen for a very good fucking reason, probably, you know? You could have gone with less of that and probably would have had a better life. So, any case, yeah, man, it's like, you know, I don't give a shit about my short-term feelings. I don't give a shit about, you know, oh, am I in the mood to go do it? You know, you always in the mood to go get choked, man? I mean, why do I make these martial arts examples? Because that's like that's the literal truth. It's like, are you always? How many days a week are you going for training? 3 days a week. Why not once or twice when it's convenient? Is that called a purple belt or a clown?
0 progress.
Yeah. So, you know, those 3 days a week that you're dedicated to going, are you always in the mood to go get choked 3 days a week?
No.
Yeah. You know, you gotta go do shit when you don't want to. I don't care what kind of mood I'm in. It's like, I don't set my goals based on my mood. I set my goals, and I'm just gonna go do that shit. And my mood's going to adjust. And it adjusts more quickly over time, by the way, when you get used to setting goals. You know, that means you're very reluctant to make a new goal. Because if you made a new goal, you gotta go do that shit now. All right, so you should be very reluctant. You know, Warren Buffett says there should be 99 no's for every one yes. You should say no to 99 things out of 100, so you can say yes to the most important thing and focus your energy there. I think that's pretty good philosophy. Worked out good for Warren too, you know? So you gotta say no to most shit in your life so you can say yes to the couple things that you want most. And then you just gotta do whatever is necessary. And when your brain is used to that, it's like, oh, when I set a goal, I'm gonna go accomplish that shit. Then you just focused on it, man. You don't have all these pussy-ass thoughts. If you build your lifestyle that way, which take you a few years to really, really internalize those habits, because you're gonna have to do it in a few different contexts. But once you do that, it's just, you know, it's literally you've decided that success is a lifestyle for you. You're just going to engage in behavior. I'm not worried about my short-term emotions. I set a goal. I understand what's necessary. I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna go do that. And it doesn't matter what kind of way I feel about it. Doesn't matter how I feel about it.